Hi everybody. So today I'm going to be giving you my predictions for the 2021 NASCAR Cup Series season. I know there's been a whole ton of news that's been coming out recently, a bunch of rumors, details, and sponsors and whatnot. Yeah, a lot of that's been coming out in the last week, so I'll give you my take on what I think will happen. We'll go team by team, only all the full-time teams, not going with any of the part-time teams. So, yeah, so let's start with one of the most talked about race teams. If I can adjust the camera a little bit. My screen is like very, very dim. I can barely see anything. Okay, so let's start. So this is Chip Ganassi Racing. As we all know, Kurt Busch will be behind the wheel of the one once again. I think his contract actually is up at the end of next year. I don't think he'll return. I think next year will be Kurt Busch's retirement season, whether he announces it before the season or mid-season or after the season. Whatever he does, my prediction is that he will retire following the 2021 season full-time. And then there's the 42 car, which has been like one of the most talked about rides of the off-season. I have three candidates in mind when it comes to the car. Probably the biggest one on my mind is Ross Chastain to take over the ride. His current ride, a colleague, he's been doing all right. He's like the top running points guy in the playoffs, but he hasn't won a race yet, which has kind of baffled all of us. I think though he will maybe get this ride. I have another ride in mind if he doesn't get the 42, but that you'll see later on. Yeah, I think he'll get the 42. Or he's my top guy to take the car, take over the 42 next year. But I do have other drivers in mind. Like if Chastain doesn't end up getting the 42, the other driver I could see taking over would be Bubba Wallace. He's all been offered a contract for Chip Ganassi. He's got a lot of sponsorship. Some of the sponsors are with Ganassi, like McDonald's, I think, for Petty, for Bubba Wallace. And got shaky hands, and my tripod's too big for this, so I apologize for any shakes. Yeah, I think Bubba would take over the 42 if Chastain weren't to get the ride. And Bubba could be a likely candidate for this ride. He's very in close proximity with Ganassi, like I said before, with the sponsors and stuff. And then there's a third candidate that comes to mind if Bubba doesn't choose to go to RPM, and that third driver would be Eric Jones. We all know he's out of Gibbs, so he's up for another ride. I think he could end up in the 42 car. He's a likely candidate for sure, Jones, to take this car over. But yeah, I think it's going to be one of these three guys. Chastain's the top guy. Bubba is also a top candidate. These three are the top candidates for this ride. I think it'd be Bubba and Chastain more than Jones, but who knows? One of these three, I think, will be Kurt Busch's teammate in 2021. So on to the next team. This is Germain Racing. Nothing's going to change here. Ty Dillon back in the 13. I don't think anyone will take his place. I don't think Ty's going anywhere. So, yeah, I think he'll stay with the 13. No changes made. And then there's Hendrick Motorsports. This is one of the biggest teams on the silly season grid. You got Chase, Byron, and Bowman all back for 2021. Chase and Byron staying in the 9 and 24. And then there's the 48 car, which is the most talked about ride of 2021. And then the question lies, though, for Bowman. Does he stay in the 88, or could Hendrick potentially downsize, go to the 48, put Bowman in the 48? Could happen. And then you could put, or could Jimmy Johnson stay in the 48 but part-time, do part-time work? He's greatly wanted to do some of that stuff. Like, he doesn't want to step away for sure, for good, indefinitely. But, he just doesn't want to do it full-time anymore, as we all know. So, he could stay in the 48 part-time, Jimmy. But I don't think that'll happen. I think he'll find a part-time. Yeah, sorry, fumbled the camera out of my hand. I think he will, though, stay in the 48. I don't think he'll stay in the 48 full part-time. I don't think Jimmy will do that. He'll find another ride, I'm sure. I'm sure it'll be a Chevy ride, but yeah, I don't think it'll be the 48. If anything, it could be maybe a fifth car for Hendrick. They can do what they did for Chase when he was debuting in 2015. But that's a whole story in itself. When it comes to taking over the 48 full-time, I can think of two drivers. And the big one I think will take over the 48 is Matt DiBenedetto. I think he could take over the 48. He's currently driving for the Wood Brothers. He's doing well for them in the 21, the iconic gumball. But yeah, I don't think that he would return to Wood Brothers next year, especially considering that they're a Penske affiliated race team and they have they have one particular driver who could be in great contention for that ride, who you'll also see a little bit later on. And yeah, I don't think the Burrito will return, and he could end up driving the iconic 48, or Hendrick could go the route that they went with Chase and Byron and promote their youth movement. In that case, if they were to do that, then Noah Gragson would be the driver taking over the 48 car in 2021. Yeah, they could do that for Gragson if they choose to go the route for the youth movement like they did for Chase with Jeff Gordon, or when William Byron was coming up to the Cup Series to take away Casey Kane's place. Yeah, they could do that, but only time will tell for sure who will truly take over this ride. That's for sure. And then there's JDG Doherty Racing. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. I think will likely be back in the 47. I don't know how long he's going to be staying here for. Like, we initially announced his sign on with this race team, I have no idea how long it was. And it was through the year for sure. But if it wasn't through the year, if it wasn't for more than a year, I could see him signing again. I can't see Stenhouse going anywhere except for here. So he'll be back in the 47. Priest in the 37 car is a bit of a different story. Priest could likely end up not back in this car, but he could return. But now with a particular driver out of a particular race team, Priest could be out of this ride. He can end up in a different ride, whether it's in a top level or the lower level. Is a different story. But the driver I think would be taking over to 37, though, if Priest doesn't return, is Corey LaJoie. Like, he's the top candidate to go to this car, taking the place of Ryan Preece, and who knows where Preece can end up. If he stays in the Cup Series, that's great. It'll suck if he goes back down to the Xfinity Series, which is a very likely landing spot for him if he doesn't return to this 37 car. But who knows? Who knows what JDG could end up doing. So we continue to move on. We got RCR. This team already has their lineup filled out. Austin Dillon, like a long-term deal in the number 3 car. And then Tyler Reddick made the announcement, I think it was last month or a few weeks ago, that he'll be back behind the wheel of the number 8 car. So the RCR lineup is good. And then there's Richard Petty Motorsports. Bubba Wallace could take over the 42, but like I said, he wasn't my favorite to take the ride over. He was a top candidate, but he wasn't like my favorite. If anything, he would end up staying in this 43 car, but not necessarily sure. But if Bubba goes to Ganassi or something, then that means I think Eric Jones will take over his place in the 43. I can't see Jones going to like Ganassi all too much. I could see him maybe going RPM if Bubba doesn't stay in this car, but who knows? Who knows really? I could see Jones there. And then this is probably one of the biggest teams on the 2021 silly season roster, Spire Motorsports. They now have the second charter from buying Levine Family Racing's assets, and they're going to be a 2-car operation. So they got their number 77 car, and then they got their second car, which no one knows the number of. My prediction is that it's going to be the number 40. They filled this car, obviously right here you see the picture. This was this was the Spire's first race, and Chip Ganassi affiliation position with Jamie McMurray for his final race. And then you got the number 77 on the right for Ross Chastain, who I think will be the full-time driver of this 77 car in 2021. This is a more likely landing spot than Ganassi is for Chastain. And Spire is a Ganassi affiliated team. They can end up working out a bigger deal to keep Chastain in their lineup, driving this car for this team, to eventually work his way to Ganassi, maybe to take the place of Kurt Busch in 2022, when the Gen 7 car is good and ready. And then there's the driver of the new second car, which I think will be the number 40. Who will that driver be? I think it will be Justin Haley. Yeah, that's right. The 2 full-time college drivers this year will both be in Cup Series rides in 2021. Haley would serve as a rookie contender. Chastain would likely not serve as a rookie contender due to ineligibility. These two have been mentioned greatly to drive for this team. Spire wants full-time drivers for their team in 2021. They have 2 full-time cars now, and Chastain and Haley are 2 good drivers I think they should go for. They're both consistent front runners, winning all the time. Not they don't really do that, but they don't win all the time. But they're consistent. They're consistent drivers. They're both good drivers. Chastain is a very aggressive driver. He can keep himself in the front a lot. And Justin Haley, he can keep himself in the front too. He doesn't always win, but so does Chastain. So I think that both of these drivers would be good drivers for this team. These 2 drivers are also, they've been greatly rumored to take these 2 rides over. Who takes over what ride is a different story. Like Chastain can end up in the 2nd car, and Haley could be in the 77, but who knows? Both of these drivers have driven the 77 before, so, but anyway, who knows? I think that these 2, though, will be the full-time drivers for Spire in 2021, for sure. And then there's Starcom Racing, but Quinn Houff, as we all know, is back in the 00. He signed a 2-year deal when he initially signed for Starcom at the beginning of the year, so he'll be back in the 00, no changes there. And then there's Front Row Motorsports. Neither McDowell or Nemechek, I think, are signed for next year. They could end up both returning, which I think could be the likely option for these 2. I can't see them going anywhere. If McDowell were to end up leaving, I honestly could say he would retire. He would. If McDowell were to leave Front Row, he would probably end up retiring or something. Nemechek, I don't know where he would end up if he left this team. Yeah, I don't know. And then there could be also the slight chance that they end up with a 3rd car, but I think the chances are super, super, super slim. I can't see that really happening at all. And if they were to open a 3rd team, then I think Corey LaJoie would drive for them in a 3rd team. But like I said, I really, really doubt it. It's a very, very scarce chance, but who knows? It could happen. And then there's Go Fast Racing as a whole. We know LaJoie won't be back in the 32, and the team is aligned with Stewart-Haas Racing. So the only driver I could see taking over this ride is Chase Briscoe, serving a Cup Series rookie season. Now, I really don't want to see him in this ride. Not anything against him, but it's Go Fast Racing. I really don't want to see him in a team like this. Yeah, they're aligned with Haas. They could give him better equipment. They could give the team better equipment. But I really don't want to see him in a car like this. I just don't. Like, I'd rather see him more driving for Haas like Cole Custer is. I think the only reason Cole Custer even went to Haas immediately was because LaJoie was in the 32 car. So, yeah, but I don't know. I don't want to see him in a 32 Briscoe. I think he could be in a better ride for Haas, but who knows? Only time will really tell. And then there's Roush Fenway Racing. Chris Buescher, Ryan Newman, I believe, are both signed for next year. Buescher, I'm pretty sure is. Newman, I have no idea. We all thought there would be an offhand chance that Newman would end up retiring from racing. I thought that greatly. And if that were the case, yeah, then I think Eric Jones would take the 6. I don't think, though, Newman is done after this season. He's going to end up returning, likely, retake the 6. Jones could be a contender if Newman does announce his leave or retirement from the 6, but who knows. And then there's Stewart-Haas Racing. This is one of the biggest teams on the 2021 silly season. So Kevin Harvick is like signed through, I think, 2023, so he's good. Cole Custer is a rookie serving long-term, so we're pretty sure he's good. But then there's the question of the 10 and the 14, 2 very good cars driven by 2 decent drivers. Eric Almirola is a pretty good driver, been able to redeem himself a bit lately. Clint Bowyer hasn't really been able to. I mean, he did well at Dover this past weekend, but he really hasn't been able to keep himself in that much better of a position. Honestly, I could see Almirola returning to the 10 more than I could seeing Bowyer in 14. I really don't think Clint Bowyer will be back in the 14, and neither does anybody, honestly. He just really hasn't been that great of a driver for the team. The real driver I could see taking over the 10 if Almirola were to get the boot or something would be Chase Briscoe. I would. I could see him taking over the number 10 in place of Eric Almirola if things don't go the right way. Almirola has been doing pretty well, and if things do go the right way, then the offhand chance is that Almirola gets the 10 back and Briscoe would end up likely in the 14, taking Bowyer's place or something like that. But this is just my prediction. This is what I think could happen to Briscoe. He could take over the 10, and he would do well for the team. in the 10. And then there's the 14 car in place of Clint Boyer. That driver taking over the 14 car, I think, could be Kyle Larson. Stewart has mentioned great interest in Larson. They both share a lot of things in common, like dirt racing. They both love dirt racing. And Stewart wants Larson back in the Cup Series at some point. He's still suspended by NASCAR, and Stewart wants to lift the suspension lifted. And I think, yeah, if Larson were to come back full-time in 2021, this would be the place that he could likely end up. This is where everyone thinks he could end up, is this 14 car. Or not the 14 per se, but, for Stewart House Racing at least. The 14 would be his likely landing spot. Eric Almirola could return, and maybe Briscoe can end up in a 32. Honestly, that just seems like the very, very likely situation. Is Harvick returns, Almirola returns, Larson gets the 14, and Custer returns, and then at Go Fast you got Briscoe in the 32. That's just what likely could happen, but who knows? It's a whole thing. We'll sure. We'll all play out eventually. Then you got the Team Penske trio. All three of them are returning. Logano was signed through 2023, I'm pretty sure. And both Blaney and Keselowski signed contract extensions, not already. So Blaney signed his extension after Phoenix, before the pandemic started, and Keselowski signed his extension after his New Hampshire win not that long ago. And then there's the Wood Brothers team. This is the Penske affiliation team I was talking about before. DiBenedetto is their current driver, and like I said, I think he could end up in the 48 car. And the driver that would be taking his place in the 21 car could be Austin Cindric. He could end up going the same route that Ryan Blaney did when it came to his Penske development, because Blaney was a Penske protege. He's now in the Penske ride. And Keselowski, I didn't mention this before, is only signed for 1 year, which is just enough time where if Cindric's promoted now, he could take over the 21 car and, take a year, take his rookie season to develop. And if he does well, then Keselowski could be ousted maybe, and you could put Cindric in the 2. Very good possibility. I really didn't mean to click the button by accident, but I'll keep going anyway. The Joe Gibbs Racing quad, all filled up. You got the big 3 from the team, Hamlet, Busch, Truex, all returning. And Christopher Bell, as we all know, Christopher Bell is so far the only driver confirmation when it comes to returning when it comes to a race team. He's the only driver we know that is going to be, when it comes to so far the 3 drivers that have chosen to leave teams or had to leave teams, Bell is the only one with a ride for 2021 so far, taking the place of Jones in the 20, which we all knew was going to happen at some point. I'd look to see good stuff from Bell. He's been doing decent in his rookie year. Hopefully he can do better. Hopefully it'll be enough to keep him here long term. He's got these 3 older veterans next to him, and he could end up going the same route that Joey Logano and Eric Jones did, and that'll suck greatly. And then there's the final team on this list being Rick Ware Racing. This team could end up going 30 different ways. You got Poole in the 15. He started for Premium Motorsports this year, but Premium was bought up by Rick Ware, so now the 15 team is entirely under Rick Ware. And then you got both Joey Gase and J.J. Yaley, who are full-time drivers for the team, with Gase mainly manning the 51 and Yaley mainly manning the 27. And then you got Garrett Smithley, but he's not necessarily a full-time. This is personally a note from myself to Rick Ware, is please keep your driver in one car the entire freaking season. Yes, you got Gase and Yaley driving 2 different cars. Yes, you mainly have Gase and Yaley in the 51 and 27 most of the year, but at the same time, you could at least keep them there the entire season. Let the 53 car be the team that you can switch drivers around for. If you want to, you can go the route that many other teams in the past have done. You can do what TMG did to Jeffrey Earnhardt and hire 2 drivers for the road courses. Hell, even DEI did that for Regan Smith in his rookie year. So did Chip Ganassi for freaking Jason Leffler in his rookie year. Hired a driver for the road course races, which technically could be 2 or 3 or 4 road course races, give or take. But, you got Poole in the 15. You can keep him there if sponsorship works out well. You can keep Gase in the 51, and then you can put Gase in the 53. If you don't want to do that, you can put him in the 27 car. But at least keep one of them, keep Yaley in one of these rides, and let the other ride be the rotating driver car. Whether it's the 53 or the 27 is a completely different story. Yeah, I don't know. I just hope Rick Ware Racing just does something like that. At least keeps their drivers consistently in a ride. Like, you could keep Gase in the 51, Poole in the 15, and Yaley, I would like to see him in the 27. That's just where I would want to see him. And he's driven the 27 most of the season so far. But, yeah, you could leave the 53 car to be the one that rotates the drivers. Like, the 27 to 53, they already rotate drivers this year. But since Yaley is a full-time driver for the team, I would say just leave him in one of these rides the whole season. Leave Gase in the 51 the whole year, and leave the 15 car to Brennan Poole all season in 2021. I don't know. That's just my prediction. I know sponsorship is tight for a team like this, so hopefully the sponsorship plays out in their hand and you can do something like I would want them to. But yeah, so those are my 2021 predictions. Hopefully in the future I can find a better way to do this, like the whole, video, because I'm filming this on my phone, and I don't really know how to do any of the editing and stuff. So sooner or later I'll hopefully be able to figure it out, and I'll be able to bring you better prediction videos and other videos in the future. But yeah, like I said before, those are my 2021 predictions. I hope it all plays out in the way that it should, or doesn't have to be the way I want it to, but it could be the way it should play out. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed my predictions. Leave a comment down below if you agree, disagree. Give me your opinions. I'd like to hear them. Don't forget, like. I don't care if you dislike, but you can like. Comment. Like I said, comment. Subscribe, of course. Hit that bell to see when I post, because I don't regularly post. Every now and then I'll make a post like this video. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys whenever I make another video. Take care. Peace out.